The Miami Dolphins fell short once again, and this loss cut deeper than Week 1. The final score, 33-27, tells only part of the story. From the very first drive, it felt like Miami was chasing the game instead of controlling it. Coaching looked shaky, decision-making questionable, and the start was disastrous. An opening drive touchdown given up, followed by Tua nearly throwing the ball away twice. The team was down 12-0 before fans could even settle in. If not for New England's kicker missing 2 extra points, things might have spiraled even faster. To his credit, Tua did settle down after the early struggles, but when the Dolphins needed him most in the fourth quarter, the comeback push fell flat. That's where the heartbreak really stings. High voltage. Before listening to the latest news, subscribe to the channel, like it, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Let's move on to the new news. High voltage, and then came the emotional roller coaster. The defense finally delivered a big stop, and Malik Washington electrified the stadium with a stunning punt return touchdown. It felt like momentum had swung Miami's way. But in the very next breath, the special teams collapsed, allowing Antonio Gibson to take the kickoff back for a touchdown of his own. Just like that, the air was sucked out of the Dolphins' comeback hopes. This game showed exactly why Miami struggles to take that next step. Every spark of momentum was quickly erased by a costly mistake. The pattern is painful: one great play, followed by something that wipes it all away. Take the sequence in the fourth quarter. Malik Washington's punt return touchdown lit up the entire stadium and gave fans hope. But just moments later, Antonio Gibson's kickoff return silenced everything. That's not just bad luck, that's a lack of discipline, and it falls on the entire Dolphins unit. With 6 minutes left on the clock, Miami had the chance to tie the game or even steal the lead. Instead, the offense stalled near midfield. On fourth down, Tua was brought down for a sack, ending what could have been the turning point. It was the story of the night: opportunities wasted. From procedural mistakes to missed assignments, the Dolphins looked like a team that couldn't get out of its own way. And perhaps the most crushing moment was Tua misfiring on what should have been a routine connection with Tyreek Hill. That miss summed up the entire evening. So close, yet not nearly enough. Moments like these define games, and Miami crumbled under the weight of their own mistakes. After penalties pushed them back to 1st and 20, Tua had Tyreek Hill wide open, but the throw sailed high. That was a backbreaker. Then, on the final drive, Devin Achane appeared to deliver the miracle, breaking free for what looked like a touchdown, only for it to be wiped out when replay showed he had stepped out at the 26-yard line. The Dolphins still had plenty of time, but that's when everything unraveled. First, a false start. Then, immediately after, a delay of game. 2 unforced errors in the biggest moment of the night. Instead of pushing for the win, Miami was suddenly staring at 1st and 20 with the clock ticking down. The offensive line, which had held up fairly well for much of the game, completely collapsed in crunch time. On fourth down, Tua was swallowed by the Patriots' pass rush, one of 5 sacks on the night, most of them coming in that final quarter when protection broke apart. It wasn't just one mistake, it was the combination of breakdowns at every level. Coaching decisions, discipline, and depth all failed the Dolphins when it mattered most. The result wasn't just a loss. It felt like a complete unraveling. Tyreek Hill was one of the few bright spots in this game. Time and again, he showed why he's one of the most dangerous weapons in football. His speed stretched the field, his routes created separation, and he looked dominant throughout. But even his brilliance was overshadowed by missed opportunities. On one play, Hill broke free more than 15 yards behind the Patriots' defense, only for Tua to underthrow him badly. What should have been an easy touchdown turned into yet another wasted chance. That single moment highlighted Miami's recurring problem: explosive talent being held back by inconsistency at quarterback. And then there's the larger picture. With the Dolphins stumbling, questions about Tyreek's future in Miami are only growing louder. The contract situation is looming, and if this team keeps slipping, it's hard to ignore the possibility of a blockbuster move at the trade deadline. Hill is playing like a star, but if the Dolphins don't turn things around quickly, his time in Miami may be nearing its end. Defensively, the night had its own share of setbacks. The biggest concern came late in the game when rookie pass rusher Chop Robinson went down with a knee injury. He had already made his presence felt with a sack, but on a 3rd and long, he was cut down on a low block and his leg bent awkwardly. The entire sideline looked concerned, and until there's clarity, that injury looms large for Miami's defense. Bradley Chubb also made an impact with a sack of his own, but the bigger issue wasn't effort, it was play calling. Time and again, Miami's scheme left fans scratching their heads. Defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver put Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips into coverage far too often, taking away their biggest strength as pass rushers. Instead of letting them hunt the quarterback, the Dolphins neutralized their own weapons, and the Patriots took full advantage. Injuries and questionable strategy combined to make the defense look flat and inconsistent. Even when big plays were made, Miami couldn't sustain the pressure or get off the field in critical moments. It was embarrassing to watch Miami's two best pass rushers, Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, dropped into coverage rather than being unleashed against the quarterback. Yes, the Dolphins managed 3 sacks on Drake May, but the pressure was inconsistent at best. Far too often, the Patriots rookie had clean pockets and plenty of time to operate. And when your secondary is already struggling, that lack of pressure becomes fatal. Miami's defense forced only 2 punts the entire game. Each time, the offense managed to put points on the board, but the problem was obvious. The defense simply couldn't get enough stops to give them a chance. Look at the numbers. New England had 7 real drives, and they scored on 5 of them. That's not just a rough outing. That's a defense that looks broken. Last week, it was 7 scores on 7 drives. This week, nearly the same story. Blame is everywhere. Chris Greer for the roster construction. Anthony Weaver for the defensive calls. Mike McDaniel for failing to adjust. There isn't one scapegoat. This was a collective collapse. The Dolphins now sit at 0-2, and with the schedule ahead, 0-3 feels like a looming reality. Unless this team finds answers quickly, the season could spiral before it ever really begins.